Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? Hope everyone is doing great. If you're new here, you're welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, you are also welcome. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to cut and sew this beautiful dress I wore to my son's graduation. So let's get started.
So I'll be working with this armhole princess dart pattern, as you can see. Okay, so the half length for this pattern is 19 inches, and the shoulder I'm working with here is 15 inches. The armhole line, that is the chest line, is 8 inches. Bust point line is 11 and a half. On the bust line is 15 and a half. Okay, so at the waistline I have my 2 inches dart allowance. Okay, I also have a bust dart here. As you can see my bust dart. Okay, for those of you that will be seeing this tutorial for the first time or coming across this kind of pattern, this is called bust dart technique. Okay, whereby you use a different half length for your front and a different half length for your back, because we have bust at the front. Okay, so that makes our front half length longer. Okay, so the half length I'm working with, like I told you earlier, is 19 inches. That is for the front half length. Okay, and for the back half length, this is my pattern for the back half length. Okay, and this is 16 inches for the back. So the difference between the front and the back is 3 inches. Okay, so what I did is to come to my bust point line. This is my bust point line. I came down by 3 inches. That is the difference between the front half length and the back half length. Okay, then I mark my darts. So this is the darts you are seeing. So by the time I cut out the dart or fold in the darts, the side of the front and the side of the back will now align. Okay, so that's that. So for the armhole princess dart, what I did is to measure my armhole round, and whatever I have, I divide by 2. Then I mark the armhole, the darts. Okay, so the darts here, how to connect the dart is that I mark out the nipple to nipple line. This is my nipple to nipple line. This line at the middle. Please, I'm doing this for the benefit of those that will be coming across this for the first time. Okay, so the nipple to nipple line is 4.5. Okay, so this is the nipple to nipple line. So from the armhole, I connected to the nipple to nipple line. Okay, so that is that for this pattern. So what I'm going to do now is to cut out the waist darts. Now again, another thing you need to note is that at the underbust, I tightened the underbust by 1/4 of an inch. Remember that we added 2 inches for the dart allowance at the waist. Okay, so for to tighten the underbust, I mark 1/4 on each side of the dart leg. At the waistline, I mark 1 inch on each side of the dart leg. Under the bust, I mark 1/4 on each side of the dart leg to tighten the underbust. So for the overbust, I won't be doing anything because the style I am making does not require much tightening. Okay, so I'm going to leave the armhole this way, but if you want to tighten your armhole, you can as well do 1 inch. Okay, but I won't be doing that. This is not for this style, is different, so maybe in another tutorial I will explain that. But for now, I won't be tightening the overbust, so I'm going to be leaving it this way. So I'm going to cut the dart. I'm going to cut this waist dart out, open up the armhole, then close the bust dart. Okay, and this is it. So by the time I cut open the line coming from the armhole, I will now close my bust dart so that I can move the dart to the armhole, and it's called um dart manipulation. Can you see? I've closed the bust dart. So this is how to do it. Can you see? So this is excess. I'm going to cut this out. So if you look at this side closely, this is the line and this is another line. You can see it's not matching up. So what I'm going to do is to use my ruler and connect back to the chest line this way. I'll connect the line back to the chest line so that it will align. Can you see what I'm doing? Can you see? Can you see? So I'll go ahead and cut this out. So we are done with this pattern. We are done with this front. So this is for the front. So the next thing I'm going to do is to alter the neck. I won't be doing this on the pattern. I will be doing it directly on my fabric. Okay. So this is the front, sorry, the back half, the back pattern. So here I have my 1 inch that allowance for the back, just 1 inch. So what I'm going to do is to transfer the pattern to the fabric. Then I'll hold my dart on my fabric. Okay, so another thing I'm going to do is to alter the neck as well, but that I will do on my fabric. So for the width of the shoulder, I want the width of the shoulder to be 3 inches. Okay, I want the width to be 3 inch, sorry, 3.5. So by the time I turn the armhole side by 1/2 inch, and I'll turn the neckline by 1/2 inch, I'll be left with 2.5. Okay, I'll be left with 2.5. So I'm going to mark 3 inches, 3.5 on the shoulder this way, and I will position my tape this way, and I will mark 8.5 like this. Can you see what I'm doing? Now remember that the shoulder has a shoulder allowance, that's for joining the two shoulders, the back and the front. So I mark 8.5. So by the time I hold my shoulder, it will be 8 inches. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is to join the points together to form the v. Okay, so I'll go ahead and cut it out. So I'll quickly show you how to cut out your facing before we go over to the back. So to cut the facing, let's assume that I'm using this fabric for the facing, which I'm not, because it's very thick. I won't use it. So let's assume that we're using this as a facing. What you're going to do is to keep place your fabric this way. Then your main fabric should be on top of the one you're using for the facing. Okay, so this is our main fabric. It has to be on top of the one you're using for the facing this way. Can you see? So you trace your shoulder and your neckline this way. You trace your shoulder and your neckline this way. The shoulder must not get to this point. It must not get to the armhole point. Okay, you can leave half or 1 inch before the point of the armhole. Can you see where I stop? You can see where I stop. You can see where I stop. So you now remove your fabric. That is the main fabric. At this point, you're going to measure 3 to 4 inches, depending on how long you want your facing to be. You mark at this point. Then you now from here connect straight using your ruler this way. And you see, that is how to cut out your facing. So by the time you cut it out and spread it out, be able to turn it with your neckline. So that is all. So we go over to the back to reshape the neckline for the back. So the neckline for the back will not be as deep as the front neckline. So I'm going to do 6 inches. Remember that the front neckline came down by 8.5. So I'm going to come down by 6 inches for the back. Okay, so here we'll mark our 3.5 on the shoulder. This is 3.5. At this point, we're going to position our tape this way. Okay, we'll do 7. Sorry, before you do that, you have to position your tape this way. Then you mark your zip allowance first. Remember, we have 1 inch zip allowance here. So you're going to mark 1 inch zip allowance this way. Then you now position your tape this way. And you see. So we are doing 6.5 this way. And you see what I did? So you now cut it out. So when cutting, you're going to cut this way. Please watch carefully. I'm doing this for the benefit of beginners. You can see how I mark my zipper allowance here, then connect it to the shoulder. So you're going to position your scissors this way. Can you see? Then you cut, go this way. And cut. So that is all for the neckline. So you're going to also do the same like what I did at the front. You trace your neckline for the facing, trace your neckline and cut it out. So because the neckline is a V neckline and I don't want any form of gaping around the neckline, what I'm going to do is to come down at this point. This is my neckline, this is shoulder, this is armhole. So at this point of the neckline where I have my shoulder slope, I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch. Then I'll connect back to the shoulder tip. Okay, I'll connect back to the shoulder tip. This will eliminate any form of gaping. Okay, can you see? So I'm done with this. I also do the same at the back. So for the lower part of the dress, I'll be working with length 31 inches. Okay, so the waist I'm working with is 34 inches. I don't know whether I mentioned that earlier. 34 divided by 4 will give us 8.5 plus 1.5 seam allowance will give us 10 inches. So this is my 10 inches here. Please, I'm working with red chalk. Bear with me. I can't find my white chalk. Just following the illustration, you understand. So at that point, I'm going to measure the hip depth, which is 9 inches. It's actually 8.5, but because I'm going to join the waist to the upper part of the dress, it will give me 8.5. So by the time I hold that, I'm going to hold it by 1/2 inch. So when you 1/2 inch plus 8.5 will give us 9 inches. Okay, so at that point, I'm going to measure my round waist, sorry, my round hip. The hip I'm working with is 44 divided by 4 will give me 11 inches plus 1.5 seam allowance will give us 12.5. So this is 12.5 here. Hope you're seeing it. This is 12.5 here. So the next measurement is above the knee. So the above the knee I'm working with is 18 inches. So this is it. This is 18 inches here. So for us to get the round above the knee, Is either you use your waist measurement, whatever you have as at your waist, use that, or you minus whatever you have as your round hip, you minus 2 inches from it, or 1.5. Is either you use your waist measurement, or you use your hip minus 2 or minus 1.5. So I'm using my waist, which is 10 inches. What I have here is 10 inches. Okay. What I have here is 10 inches. So I'm using 10 inches as my round knee. So I'm going to extend that to the hemline, 10 inches. 10 inches. 10 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and connect the points. Okay. So the next thing is to connect the waist to the hip and hip to the above the knee. And we are done with the front skirt. Remember, I did not add any dart allowance at the front here. Okay, but I'm going to be adding dart allowance at the back. You can add a dart allowance at your front if you wish, but I don't do that. So I'll go ahead and cut this out. I will proceed to the back. So this is the front. So I'm going to use this to cut the back.
So I've cut out the back, as you can see, with the zipper allowance. I also include the dart allowance, okay, by the side. So the back has dart allowance, but the front does not have. So that is it. So the next thing I'm going to do is to go and finish up the lower part and the upper part. So I finish up the neckline and the armhole using the bias tape, as you can see. I also close up the sides, the front, you see. So the next thing I'm going to do is to show you how to make the rose ruffles. So I use a circle shape to cut this out on my fabric. So to form your rose, you're going to fold again, then you tack it down by the edge, okay, so that it won't open up. Then you're going to pick another one, fold again, then you tack it together with the first one. So what we're trying to achieve here is this rose looking like a ruffle, okay. So you're going to tack it properly so that it won't open up. You can see what I'm doing. So for each rose, it requires 4 circles, okay. So we're going to pick another one. This is the one I've already folded and tack. So I'm going to tack it together with the other two. You see. So now when I'm done doing that, I will pick the last one. That's the 4th one. Then I'll tack. So this is our rose. Can you see? So these are the ones I've already done. And you see, looking so beautiful. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to get our dress. I'm going to place them on the shoulder of the dress. You can see what I'm doing. Then I'm going to tack them down on the dress. So for each shoulder, I made five roses. For each shoulder, it's five. Okay. So this is the finished look. You can see that the back has the zipper and also a vent. Can you see? So for this dress, there is no lining. What I do is to wear something inside. So for the back, the upper back has a dart, the lower back also has a dart. Remember. So this is the shoulder with the rose ruffles. Looking so beautiful. So the vent, I tacked the vent down, I did not stitch it. Okay. So that's the front. That's it for this dress. Thank you so much for watching and see you in my next one.